This is the most unlucky person I have ever seen. Just bought a BMW. The bearded brother reacted and chased after him angrily. As a result, he was either stopped by the traffic police or stung by bees, and even got a faceful of feces thrown in his face. The story begins on a sunny morning. A few days ago, Tom bought a new car, so the family decided to go out for a drive in order not to get stuck in traffic. The family woke up early to get ready. The doorbell rings, and it is Tom's father, Uncle Kyun. Seeing his father-in-law, his wife Julia looked a little embarrassed. Tom explained that Uncle Kyun had just been dumped and was in a bad mood, so he wants to go for a walk with us. Hearing this, Julia's face became even more ugly because she and her father-in-law had always been at odds. She could already predict what would happen during the trip. Before leaving, Uncle Kyun went to the toilet. When flushing, he accidentally touched the toilet paper next to him. The toilet paper fell into the toilet and blocked it. Uncle Kyun went to turn off the water valve. He didn't realize he had pulled the handbrake. In order not to be seen, Uncle Kyun grabbed a towel and plugged it up. As long as I can see him, he doesn't exist. The family got into the new car and drove toward their destination. Just as they got on the highway, the children began to get hungry, so Tom went to the nearest service area to buy more food. Uncle Kyun was filling up the car with gas for the rest of the trip. When he turned his head, he saw a pretty girl alone. When he went up to her, it turned out that she went to the restroom out and got separated from her parents, so she wanted to hitchhike to them. Who could refuse a pretty girl's request? Uncle Kyun told her to hide in the car and keep quiet. When Tom and his family returned, Uncle Kyun wipes the glass to divert his attention. He was not paying attention and broke the windshield wiper. He rushes back to the car and pretends that nothing has happened. The family returns to the highway again. On the way, Tom showed his wife the new car's automatic cruise control. Uncle Kyun thought to himself, how can we not have a drink on this journey? So he took out a bottle of drink and secretly mixed it with a little bit of pothead. I bet the taste is more exciting than marijuana. Over here, the big beauty was suffocated. She just lifted her shirt to take a breath and was immediately discovered. Julia's temper came up and she kept asking to get out of the car. Tom realizes something's wrong. The system's jammed and the brakes are failing. Julia thinks it's her husband's excuse, but no matter what Tom does, the car just won't slow down. Now everyone panicked. Uncle Kyun immediately checked Baidu. It said to accelerate and then brake to bring the car down. Tom did as he was told, but the speed went up to 160. This is a really bad idea. Now, Tom could only rely on his 20 years of skill and try to avoid the cars. Gradually, there were more and more cars, and Tom almost hit a Yamaha. So, he thought of a way to drive the car to a side road. Unexpectedly, he came across a BMW with its door open. The bearded man stood by the car and tried to digest the situation. He tried to close the door, but couldn't do anything about it. So, he drove the BMW with no doors and raced down the highway. When a friend called, the bearded man angrily told his friend what his car had just gone through. This revenge will not go unrewarded, but really sorry for his family to buy the BMW. But at this moment, Tom could not care less about the bearded man. He was still fighting with the out-of-control car. Such speed successfully attracted the traffic police, who signaled Tom to pull over, but the car was going so fast that he couldn't see what the policeman was saying. Julia hurriedly wrote a distress signal on the map in her hand. Her daughter showed it to the policeman, but just as she opened the car window, the map flew out. The map flew out of the window and blocked the policeman's face. This was a big trouble. It took the cop a long time to pull the paper off. He threw it away, but the map flew into the windshield of the bearded man. The bearded man couldn't see the road, so he pulled over. Just as he stopped, the traffic cop came after him. She said that Mr. Beard was speeding and asked him to show his license. Brother Beard pretended to look down for his license and ended up running away. The traffic cop finally got the message and volunteered to drive in front of him. Seeing that we are about to reach the toll booth, he hurriedly contacted the command center to request support. Under the dispatch of the command center, the toll office quickly cleared the lanes. But when Tom arrived, he realized that the command center cleared opposite. Tom had no choice but to jerk the steering wheel into the opposite lane because he hit the barricade. He got some dirt on the glass of his car. He turned on the windshield wipers and tried to clean the glass, but just as he sprayed detergent on the wipers went with the wind and now he couldn't see the road. Uncle Kyun knew it was his fault, so he took a rag, poked his head out of the sunroof and tried to clean the glass manually, but the car was going so fast that Uncle Kyun was almost thrown out. Luckily, Julia and Big Pretty reacted quickly and caught Uncle Kyun. Tom's hands were cramping because he had to drive the car all the time, so Uncle Kyun took over the driving job, but Uncle Kyun didn't have a license and didn't know how to drive at all. It twisted and turned like a snake on the road. Tom taught him to drive and he soon got used to it. But just then, a bee flew into the car and it was a mess. Tom grabbed his shoe and swatted at the bee. Not only did he get the airbag out, but also managed to get the bee out of the car. Unexpectedly, the bee crashed headfirst into the back seat of the bearded car. This was no joke. The bearded man was in so much pain that he crashed right into the truck next to him. The bearded man was enraged. He punched out the windshield and continued to chase Tom. The command center investigated and found that Tom's car had been penalized for speeding, so the traffic policeman thought Tom was probably lying. He even suspected that Julia was pretending to be pregnant to avoid the penalty. Julia was furious. "You are the one who pretended to be pregnant." She opened the car door and said a bunch of beautiful Chinese words to the policeman. In the end, she even pulled up her shirt to prove it was true. It's the first day of the holiday, and the freeway is backed up again. At this moment, a car with faulty brakes at the back of the road. It was rushing towards the crowd at 160 mph. Tom kicks the front console and removes the cover in order to stop the car. He's trying to find the source of the cruise control crap. At this point, the old king called Julia downstairs because of Uncle Cune's behavior this morning. Now old Wayne's house was turning into a waterfall hole. When Tom heard it was old Wayne's phone, he picked it up on instinct. Then he heard something that made his head spin. One asked on the phone, "When am I going to paint another heart of the ocean for Julia?" Tom was so angry that he threw the phone out and asked his wife why she wanted it. Julia didn't retort. She asks what Tom and Natasha's relationship is, and the scene is very awkward. Uncle Cune said, "You guys can argue some other time. Shouldn't we stop the car now?" Tom looked up the owner's manual and called customer service. Customer service told Tom that the car was equipped with an anti-lock system. "You can't stop the car if you keep your foot on the brake." The two men tried it and didn't realize the brakes were off. He threw himself out the window and accidentally hit the police officers escorting him. Both the police car and the man fell. At this point, Uncle Cune says he has an emergency. Julia hands him a bag and Tom helps steady the steering wheel. After urinating, Uncle Cune handed the bag to Tom, who threw it out the window. The bag spills directly onto the bearded man who has no windshield. The bearded man stuck out his tongue and tasted it, and it tasted pretty heavy. Furious, he grabbed a nearby bucket and put it over his head as protection. He hit the gas and sprinted off, the bearded man finally catching up. But at this moment, Tom really didn't understand what he was talking about. The bearded man thought Tom was doing it on purpose, so he drove straight into it. The youngest son, seeing his father being bullied, was also a ruthless character, directly picked up a fish gun and shot at the bearded brother. The bearded brother was injured and he veered off and hit the car next to him. As a result, he was caught and educated by the Kempers. The traffic police temporarily commandeered a car. They picked up speed and drove alongside Tom. Now they had to move one by one, first the two children, then the great beauty. But Uncle Cune suddenly turned his head as if he saw something. The car slowly veered off course. Fortunately, Tom pulled the car back in time. The helicopter from the command center arrived and they quickly rescued Julia. Only Tom and Uncle Cune were left, and it was all too late. The Washington team took out a strap and tied it to Tom's car. Tom thought it was saved, but the car couldn't handle the weight and fell. Now everyone is dumbfounded. Luckily, both Tom and Uncle Cune were fine. That was the end of the story.